Hi, I'm Laura. Welcome to Pretty Powerful Pandas, a mini-series where I'll walk you through the most useful, elegant lines of code in Pandas, whether you're just starting out or you want to level up your data game.
Back to Pretty Powerful Pandas. So for today's episode we are looking at Datetime and how if we have some information and it is in dates, how we can make sure that that is the correct format, the correct data type, and use it to help us manipulate and analyse some data. Now, if you have been working with any sort of data that has dates or times, you know how frustrating this might be if it is not correct. Date time is always quite messy, so one of the biggest things I recommend is just cleaning that up as soon as possible. In fact, one of my very first analyses, this is pre-coding, when I was working in Excel, I was a couple of hours into an analytics project, and halfway through I realised that half of my dates were in the UK format, where you have days first, then month, then year, and the other half for some reason were in the American format, so it was months, then days, then years, and it really threw out all my data. I basically had to go back to the beginning, fix that all up, and then process again. So I learned my lesson, and I make sure that now I make sure my dates are all really clean from the beginning when I'm cleaning my data. Now, thankfully, Pandas makes this really easy, and we can do this in a single line, of course. So we import our Pandas as PD as normal. We are using the global superstar data for this and looking at the orders, and I've just got the head here. So this is our top 3 rows. So we've got our order date and our ship date. Now, what we're going to do is just take our 2 columns, so orders, and look at order date, and then we are just going to define that as calling PD, and then we're going to say, right, can you take that and can you put it to date time? And then I'm just going to put in there the column we're fixing up. And if I could spell date time, there we go, that's everything much better. So we're going to do the exact same process, but this time we're going to do it for ship date. And now when I look at my orders dot, and this time I'm going to go info. Remember, information gives us kind of like a little quick overview about how many non-nulls we have and what data type it is. We can very clearly see that our order date and our ship date are now not an object, not a kind of piece of information that has been typed in. They are very much set as a date time type, which is really helpful to us. Full disclosure, I think when you're using this data set, they're already like that, so they're already pretty clean. So just to kind of give you an idea, I've got a little bit of a sample data here that I'm going to use. So here's my sample dates. Just show them for a second. So normally, or sometimes you'll get data and your date times will actually be just as an object. So they will just be, someone has just typed them in. And if they're using Excel, you know that Excel can be a little bit funny with dates, and sometimes it kind of formats it itself in some crazy way. So always just be careful, it would double check what is going on first. Now, if we just do PD dot to date time, and if we take these sample dates, you will see here, so that date time always does it from year, and then it does it from month, and then day. It kind of does that standard international way of doing it. So it's year, month, and day. We can see from here that this then must be the American version, where it has month first, then day, then year. So date time it does the standard, by default, the standard American version of how you would write dates. So here in the UK, we obviously do day, then month, then year. So just if you are working with any UK-based data sets. When we do our date time, again, you just do your sample dates. And what we all just do is we just have to put in an extra clause and we just say day first equals true. And now when we run that, we can see that the first one here is 2016, and then it's the month of the 4th, and then it's the day that's the 3rd. So it's kind of like directly flipped. So that is just one thing to be aware of. This is the default US style. And this one here is our UK style. So just always know kind of where your data is coming from and what the expectation of what it is and where it needs to be, because that will, as I say, really get you if it's a bit muddled up. We are working with American data, so, you know, and we can tell when you've got, there you go, 17 there, so that's very clearly a day and not a month. Okay, so now we have, we're able to take our objects and turn them into the correct format, so our date times. How do we use them? Let's have a little look at orders again. Again, just let's do top 2 this time, just keep it nice and neat. Okay, it's just these ones. Let's look at order date and let's extract a few different things. So we can do orders and we're going to extract the year. To do that, we are going to define that as our order date. And what we do here is we do .dt, which is our datetime accessor, so it kind of lets us access whatever's going on inside here. We just do .year. And now, if I, orders, order, there we go. And if I call that now, we can see that I've got the year, which is quite good. So let's do a little bit more of those. Let's do month. So if I just wanted the month, obviously I still take the orders of the order date and I do the accessor of DT, but this time I do month. And then let's turn this into a list and call the month as well. Better call our actual order date to begin with, to double check. Oh, I've freaked about because I've, hold on. I'm going to come back to that in a second. There we go. So I've got order date, I've got the year, and I've got the month. That's all been extracted. Obviously you can do the day as well, but instead of days, I'm actually going to do the day of the week. So this is something you can obviously do day as normal, but if you want to do day of the week, we just say day name, and we call that as one of these. And then when I add that in, that's quite cool. It actually gives you what day of the week it is without you having to kind of align that or map that or do anything. It's already, the functionality is already there. So your .dt is kind of like an accessor, the bridge to the different parts of the date. So you can extract the year, the month, the weekday. We can even look at date differences in a little second. Yeah, which is quite cool. Before we do that, why is all this useful? Well, all of this can be really, really useful if you want to analyse sales, for example, or whatever data set you're looking at, and kind of break it into a report. So let's look at monthly sales. That's probably quite a typical thing that people would look at. So we're going to do .orders. I'm going to actually set my order date as the index here. So I'm going to set index as order date, just to make things a little bit easier for us. And then I'm going to resample. And I'm going to resample as month. Sorry, as months. And then I just want to look at the value of sales. So we look at sales and let's go for the sum of sales. Okay. Sorry. There we go. So monthly sales, and let's just look at the top 5 of those. Here we go. So here we go. We've got our each month. So there's January, February, March, for example, and here is the monthly sales. Let's just round those to 2 decimal places. It's a bit nicer. So here's our sum of how much was sold that month. Now, I don't know if this is something we've actually spoken about before, but I've got a little pink, almost error code, but it's not. It's a future warning. So this is telling us something is kind of in the process of happening. It's saying M is depreciated. So that code is kind of no longer the optimal code being used. They've turned it into something else, and it will actually be removed in a future version. So please use ME instead. So that's quite nice. They kind of give it you. So all you do is kind of replace that, and there you go. It gets rid of any future versions. So if that comes up, it's fine for now. But if you are kind of building pipelines and you know that this code is going to be running into the future, it's always best to make sure you're using the most up-to-date code going. And the ME here, and I'm sure you've already noticed, is because we are looking at month end. So that's just to clarify that it's not just kind of grouped by the middle of the month or whatever. It's very definitively the month end. So we can see January has 31 days. February, that must have been a leap year that year, which it definitely is, has 29, etc., etc. If you wanted to go a little bit further and do a little plot, so if we look at monthly sales, without going too much into without going too much into visualizations, because we will look at that hopefully in the next few weeks. Let's do monthly sales over time, and you can see my spelling skills are really quite bad at the moment. And we're going to put a little bit of a Y label on. I'm just going to call that sales. There we go. Cool. And really quickly, look at that. How useful is that? So yes, you can have a table of numbers, but we know as people, as humans, we very much are drawn to a very clear visual. And instantly, if you pass that over to your senior leadership team, they could clearly see that actually, yes, business is going well. Yes, we've got a few kind of spikes and troughs, but overall, the overall trend is very much increasing. And again, very clearly we can see that because there are spikes and kind of dips, there's seasonality, there's some trends going on. So it seems like Christmas, or the lead up into the winter period, seems to be quite a big selling point of the year. And then there's a big drop off at the beginning of each year. But the overall trend is going up. So really useful and this is all these time dates. You can get some really lovely visuals to help you understand what is happening with your data. Right, one of the things I spoke about is we can actually work out the, if you come back up here, we can work out the difference between an order and a shipping date, and we can actually do some arithmetic with our date time stuff. So what we're going to do is look at the lead time, and this is going to be in days. And this is going to be equal to our orders. We're going to look at ship date, what was it? And we are going to take away our orders order date. Now, if I did that, let's just see what that looks like first. It actually gives me it 2 days, 2 days, 1 day, and that's quite nice. But I can do that same .dt and just say .days. Oh, sorry, always got to say it's this whole thing. There we go, do the maths first and then plug it in. So you can either have it with the days, or if you just want it in days and get rid of the word days in your code so you can do later analysis, feel free to do that. Cool, so that's another quite useful thing. We could also use one of our group by that we did in a previous session and look at our orders dot group by. Let's go for ship mode. So that was one, yeah, so whether it's first class or second class, that's good. And let's look at lead time. So this is our new thing that we've just created. And let's find the mean of that. Cool. And again, let's round that to a single decimal point. So here you go. You can see that first class just takes over 2 days before it ships. Same day, thankfully, is going on the same day, which is really helpful. Second class is over 3 days, and your standard class takes 5 days. So information like this can help you update your website or let your customers know so they've got that expectation of when things are coming. Right, I'm a little bit over. I've talked quite a lot today, so there's your tip. This is so useful and really easy to do once you get your head wrapped around it. This to Datetime, excellent piece of kit that can help you with your analyses. So there's your tip. Go make your pandas pretty powerful.